Zooms can be a useful tool to add energy or meaning to your project. You can use them to emphasize a certain object for comedic effect, or move your audience toward a subject, either to connect with the character or even as an unsettling way, like forcing your audience toward a frightening subject. Of course, as with most things, it's best to do this in camera, but sometimes you don't have that option. So let's look at a few ways we can incorporate zooms inside the edit. One of the most useful and common things that I do on Film Riot with a zoom is cutting in during stand-ups, like we're doing right now. Cutting in and out helps give energy and keeps your audience more engaged since we aren't holding on one shot too long. It's also a great way to have an edit point to fix any issues in your performance. To do this, just make a cut on your clip, then go to Effects Controls and increase the scale and adjust the position, and that's it. The main thing you want to keep in mind here is the idea behind the 30-degree rule, which basically means you want to have a big enough change between the two shots so that it doesn't feel like a jump cut. For instance, if we cut from the scale of 100 right here to 110, it feels like a mistake. But if we go from 100 to 130, it feels like an intentional cut. To create a digital zoom, you can do it right in Clip Attributes in the Effects panel, or you can drag the transform effect onto your clip, which does give you the added option of setting your shutter angle to something like 360 in case you want motion blur. If not, then, leave it at 0.
Master your own destiny. Make your own choices. Leave it at 0.
So now click on the Scale and Position stopwatch, then set your keyframes at the beginning and then at the end of your clip. You can also add an ease in and ease out for a smoother movement. More often than not, I'm using this in very subtle ways just to heighten the moment, but you can also move your keyframes closer to each other and achieve this digital snap zoom look like you've been seeing in this episode. If you do want to have an Edgar Wright style snap zoom, but you don't own a zoom lens, you can fake it by filming 2 shots of your subject, a wide and a close-up. Now take those 2 clips in Premiere and we're going to create an adjustment layer, then place that on top of the 2 clips. Now just do what we previously did, but this time add the transform effect to the adjustment layer and set your shutter angle to 360. Add in your scale and position keyframes and you should have a more natural looking snap zoom. We all know and love the push-pull, also known as the dolly zoom or zolly. It's an effect that is done by physically pushing your camera in while zooming out, or vice versa. It can be a subtle movement to create a sense of tension and unease, or it can be a big dramatic thing. If you want to create this effect digitally, make sure to keep in mind your movement and end frame while filming. For the best end result, you want the smoothness a slider or gimbal will give you and a bit of a wider lens to compensate for the zoom. Now bring your footage into Premiere, add the transform effect, and keyframe your scale as needed. If your footage is pushing in, then you're going to want to zoom out. If your footage is pulling out, then you're going to want to zoom in. But there you have a few ways to add some zoomy goodness inside of Premiere Pro. And if there's something that you'd like to see us cover in the future, or if you have a question, just leave a comment in the notes below. And be sure to subscribe to the channel for more updates and tutorials like this one. Because, I don't know, man. Can you please just subscribe to the channel?